Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. I hope you're all doing great. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made $10,000 in just 1 week and break down exactly how I took the trade. Let's dive right into it. This was the first trade I took. I noticed bullish momentum and waited for confirmation. I spotted a triangle pattern forming and patiently waited for the breakout. Once it broke out, I entered the trade, placed my stop loss below the pattern, and set my target points. When TP1 was hit, I moved my stop loss to break even, making the trade risk-free. Then, I waited for TP2 and TP3, and eventually, all 3 targets were hit. From this trade alone, I made $2,000. Moving on to the next trade, on the same day, I spotted another pattern called the channel pattern. For this trade, I waited patiently for 7 hours and 30 minutes to get a clear confirmation. Once the channel broke, I entered the trade and placed my stop loss below the current swing low. Just like before, I waited for TP1, and once it was hit, I moved my stop loss to break even, making the trade completely risk-free. In this trade, TP1 and TP2 were hit fairly quickly, but I had to wait an additional 4 hours for TP3 to be reached. This trade really emphasized the importance of patience for traders. From this trade, I made $1,130. Moving on to the next day, I took just one trade, and it was another channel pattern. This trade was full of consolidation. First, it gave a false breakout, but then it came back and closed bullishly. Once I saw the strong bullish close, I entered the trade and placed a tight stop loss, then waited for my targets. Finally, it hit TP1 and TP2, and I ended up making $1,200. Now let's move on to Wednesday. On this day, I took 2 trades. Let's start with the first one. In this trade, a clear pattern formed, and I waited for confirmation before entering. Once I entered, I placed my stop loss above the current swing high and waited for TP1 to hit. After TP1 was reached, I moved my stop loss to break even, making the trade risk-free. Then I waited for TP2 and TP3, and eventually, all my targets were hit. I ended up making $1,230 in this trade. Now let's move on to the second trade. For this trade, I waited for the resistance zone to break and close bullishly. After a small retracement, I entered the trade and placed my stop loss below the zone. My first and second targets were hit relatively quickly, but TP3 took a long time, 7 hours and 45 minutes to be exact. Finally, all targets were hit, and I made $1,500 in this trade. Moving on to Thursday, I took a single trade that day. I waited for a triangle pattern to form and patiently watched for the breakout to happen. Once it did, I entered the trade and placed my stop loss below the recent low. After TP1 was hit, I moved my stop loss to break even, making the trade risk-free. Then, I waited for TP2 and TP3 to be completed. Finally, all my targets were hit, and I made $1,000 in this trade. Let's move on to the final day of the week, Friday. On this day, I took 2 trades. Let's start with the first one. This trade was also based on a triangle pattern, but I patiently waited for the resistance zone to break and close before entering. I entered the trade with a tight stop loss and waited for all my targets, TP1, TP2, and TP3, to complete. After TP1 was hit, I moved my stop loss to break even, making the trade risk-free. Eventually, all targets were hit, and I booked a $1,200 profit. Now let's move on to the second trade. This was a reversal trade based on a big resistance zone. I waited for confirmation of the reversal and noticed signs of weakness in the price action. Once confirmed, I entered the trade and placed my stop loss above the resistance zone. I patiently waited for all my targets, and eventually, they were all hit. I booked a $1,080 profit in this trade. Let's take a quick look at the total profits I made this week, broken down by each day. Monday, $2,000 plus $1,130 equals $3,130. Tuesday, $1,120. Wednesday, $1,230 plus $1,500 equals $2,730. Thursday, $1,000. Friday, $1,200 plus $1,080 equals $2,280. That brings my total profit for the week to $10,260. This week really highlighted the importance of patience, discipline, and sticking to a solid trading plan. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more trading insights. See you in the next video.